We're going to make over some things that I found at the thrift store, but I thought it would be fun to start off with the ending here at the beginning. Yep, I do that every single week to make my thumbnail. It's the weirdest part of my job. Anyway, you see some of the things here that I have picked up at the while out thrifting lately, and we're going to make them over, make them look a little bit better, and just have fun working on some projects for our homes. My name is Cindy and I'm with Reinvented Delaware, and I'm so glad that you're here. Now listen, I lost a lot of the video. I don't know what I did. I erased it or something. Who knows? But here we are mid-project. I took that planter that was an ugly green, at least ugly in my opinion, and I painted it. Now all of the paints that I'm using and the brushes and everything, they're going to be listed down in the links down below in the description. I'm using all of a paint. It's got a built-in primer, a built-in top coat, plus the paint. So it's kind of a one and done thing. I used 3 colors to create this cement kind of look with a little bit of, you know, moss growing on it. And I like the natural look. It made it look more like stone rather than ceramic, like the green one that I bought. I just kept going over this piece several times with the 3 colors. I had 3 different brushes going on, and it gave it a really nice look. Let's work on this little tray next. Now, I've had this tray since last fall, believe it or not. I think I paid $1.99 or $2.99 for it, and I was going to make it over for Christmas. Totally forgot about it, but it's still winter here in Delaware, so I'm going to make it over. I started off with this gorgeous navy paint. Oh, you also see that I did put a primer down on that design. I just wanted to make sure that I got all that design covered so that in the next step, well, I didn't want it to shadow through. Anyway, I painted the whole thing in this really pretty navy color, and it's going to look really nice in our home. I like having a tray. They're super easy to make over. And if you sell in a vendor booth, like if you sell the items that you make over, find these trays and make them over. People love to buy them. We used to sell our items, and we sold a lot of these trays. You're going to notice that I jump from project to project. That is just the nature of the way that my mind works. When one thing is drying, I scoot on to the next project. And here's this little footstool that I've had for a really long time. It was back in my stash, and I did not get it at a thrift store. I did get it at an auction, and that means who knows what you're getting. I mean, look at this poor little thing. But my heart went out to it. I love upholstered pieces, and I just couldn't turn away this little piece for like $1. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I'm all about redemption, right? So I brought this thing home thinking, I can fix it up. I'm just sure of it. So I grabbed my tools and I started pulling out all the little tacks, and they were very rusted and stuck in there. And this thing was in bad shape, but I persevered. I really tried hard. And then I got to this point and I thought, no, I think it's a lost cause. So I texted my husband. So stay tuned to see what I did with this. I also had this little piece that I lost the footage for this as well. I don't know where that video is. Anyway, I grabbed some trusty E6000 and glued this candle base onto the bottom of that little berry basket. I already had this little bird on hand, so cute, but I thrifted one that I thought was a little bit cuter. It had a stone look, and then it had this silver gilding on it. Loved the look of this, and I wanted to make the bigger bird look like this little bird. And I didn't have to do anything to the little bird. I just had to make that bigger bird look like the little bird, and I think we accomplished that. I applied this primer. This is a primer that sticks to really shiny surfaces. It works great. And I just dabbed it on all over so that I wouldn't have brush strokes. And I'm going for the cement look, so I wanted to give it the texture. And I put it on really thick and let the texture of the dabbing just help me to make the texture. We'll come back to that little bird in a minute. While it dries, let's work on this frame. Now, usually what I do is I take the insides of these frames out, and then you can just paint the inside of it, and easy peasy, super easy to do something like that. So I started pulling off the leftover paper that was on the back side, and then I removed the interior section, and come to find out it's all glued as one piece, and I wasn't going to be able to paint it like I thought I would be able to. We'll come up with something else. So again, I've got to text my husband, so hang on. All right, we'll get back to that too as soon as I hear back from him on my text. In the meantime, the little tray is dry and I can cover the interior of it with this peel and stick wallpaper. And those snowflakes are for winter. I mean, it doesn't have to be just for Christmas, right? I'm going to use this tray during the winter. So for me, this works out. Maybe it would have been best to do it before Christmas, but hey, better late than never. Peel and stick paper is so easy to use. I just cut it down to almost the size, not exact. And then I use an X-Acto knife after I crease it with my fingernail and I cut off the excess. This is a great way to make the interior of a tray pretty again. Like I said it before, you can pick up these wooden trays in all sorts of colors and sizes, and usually they're usually under $5 in our area. I've gotten them as cheap as $1.99 and as expensive as maybe $5.99 or $4.99. They're a great thing to make over, so easy. I mean, I know I already said that, but I really love a good tray makeover that's just simple and easy. If you're worried about scratching up the surface that it's going to sit on, just get these little stick-on felt pads and you can put them in the corners of the tray and there you go, problem solved. I texted my husband and I said, please cut me a piece of Luan wood that will fit inside that frame. So he took that foam piece of art that I took out of it and he cut a new piece of this Luan. This is a thin board. It's only about an inch. No, I'm sorry. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick and we have used it for the backs of furniture pieces when we've had to replace the back. Or it's also used for drawers, like the bottom side of a drawer. So we have this on hand a lot. I gave it a coat of paint. This is that same silk paint that I use. It is a primer and paint and clear coat all mixed into one. So you just have to paint the coats on. There's no need to seal and it works wonders. Here's this cute little bird with the silver leaf on it. That was $2.99. So cute. I mean, it does have a little damage, but I'm crazy about this little bird. I just think it's super cute. The colors that I used on those pots earlier are the exact same colors. So I'm going to use the same technique of dabbing on the paint, kind of a dry brush method. You see me there tapping it on the paper towel and just going over the whole thing in a dabbing motion so that I don't have brush strokes, but I do have texture from the dabbing. I got the paint on pretty thick. I layered on this darker color and then I went over with those other two colors and just blended it in. I like doing this kind of project because it kind of makes me feel artsy. I don't know why. It just makes it feel fancy that I'm just dabbing on the color wherever I want it. And it really does give it a pretty look. I think that we're going to get pretty close to what that other little bird looks like. If you have a method for creating that cement look, I would love to hear about it. Tell me how you create this look down in the comments below. It's great that we can share ideas here and different techniques and methods to doing the projects that we love to work on. The little bird that I got from the thrift store had faint hints of green here and there as though like moss had grown on it. So I grabbed the color that I had on hand. I probably could have found a color that was a little bit better, but this will do. And I just dabbed on some of the green so that the bigger bird would look like it had a little bit of moss too. While I've got my paintbrush out, I went ahead and gave that piece of Luan wood another coat of paint, and I used a crisscross pattern to create some texture on the surface. I had this metal leaf glue on hand from previous projects. In fact, I did some copper leaf on styrofoam pumpkins, and I'll put a little clip of that video here, and I'll also link it so you can see more of a technique. But I didn't mind having this extra metal leaf glue left over because I want to do other projects to use it. And then I also had to run in town to our local Hobby Lobby and grab some of that silver leaf. I didn't have any on hand, so I grabbed a package of that. And I'm excited because next Christmas I'll be able to make some more silver leaf ornaments for our Christmas tree. So none of this is going to go to waste. You apply the glue in the spots where you want the silver leaf to stick, and then you have to allow it to dry so that it's tacky, not completely wet, just tacky, about 30 minutes. Let's get back to this frame. I had this piece of rice paper that is just so pretty, so French looking, of course, there with the Eiffel Tower, and very springtimey with those beautiful pink and blue trees. I grabbed that piece of rice paper, I cut off the excess, and then I also cut it in the shape of the oval so that I would not have squared off edges on that oval. You'll see that here in a minute. Then what I did, I used Dixie Belle Clear Coat as the adhesive for this paper. You paint down the surface. There's the surface that I painted, but you apply a clear coat onto the wood surface, and then you lay that rice paper, the decoupage paper, right over top, and the clear coat acts like a glue, so you don't have to have an additional product. So you lay that down. You can see there that I cut out the oval in a rough oval. It's not perfect. We'll fix that. Don't worry. I laid it down, and then you just kind of smooth it out. Now this rice paper, for me, it did start to crinkle up a little bit, and I don't mind that because I like a vintage and handmade look. But as the paper dried, it really did flatten out. I couldn't believe it because I felt like I had a lot of wrinkles in it. And in the end result, the wrinkles did not show at all. So that was great. But in a few minutes, we're going to get to fixing those edges. First off, I'm going to paint a coat of the clear coat over top to completely seal it. We're going to let that clear coat dry, and in the meantime, we're going to work on the frame. Now, the gold doesn't look so bad here on camera, but in person, it looks tacky. It did not look good at all. Take my word for it. One of my daughters gave me this idea, and I just loved it. You first of all paint the surface black, and I did have to apply 2 coats of this black paint to the whole frame, and then you allow it to dry in between. And then there's this method of putting gold over top, a gold wax over top. So I have some gilding wax. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to spoil it. In the meantime, I applied the 2 coats of paint and I allowed it to dry completely. Isn't it fun switching back and forth from project to project? I'm kind of laughing because I really do this in my workshop. I'm going back and forth all the time. I would love to know if you go back and forth when you're working on projects. So while that frame is drying, the glue now on the little bird, it's the perfect tackiness to apply the silver leaf. So this is one sheet of that silver leaf, and you just take the little bits and pieces and go everywhere where you have a little bit of tackiness from that glue, and you just press it down. Now, my kit came with a little brush that you can brush off the excess. It works wonderfully. It's such a fun project. Let's fix these edges that I had to cut off of that rice paper. So again, I pulled out the same colors, and I do have some extras there. And the same method of just dabbing that paint all around the outside perimeter to blend in the painted surface along with that rice paper surface. I had to go around this circumference of this several times with lots of the 3 different colors, the 2 colors that you see there. And I think I might have used some of that pink. Now, I can't remember if I did or not, but I just kept going over it and over it with a dry brush technique in both of those colors until that harsher line from the rice paper just blended in. You didn't even see it. Both coats of black paint are dry, so I grabbed this gilding wax, and this is a wonderful product, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. Now that little tin that I've done so many projects with it. I think it initially cost me about $15, and I have only used about 1/3 of it. There's a lot. I used a Q-tip and I just hit the high spots here and there. And then I took a paper towel and just wiped it back and rubbed it in. And it just really makes a pretty look. Stay tuned all the way to the end so that you can see how pretty this frame turned out. You can use this method to make this frame look antique on just about any kind of frame, whether it's plastic or wood. It doesn't matter the color. You just totally change it. You paint it black first, put on this gilding wax in gold, and boom, you have an instant antique frame. I used the same hanging wire on the back of the frame, but I did have to unscrew it and reorient it because the design was going horizontal instead of vertical like the original design. That's no problem. I just cut off the excess and used the same exact wire and eye hook. Okay, here's the stool. I know it looks completely different because when I texted my husband and said, hey, can you help me get all these little nails out? He said, sure, I'll do it. And then the next thing I know, he came in and he had this thing remade completely. He copied the pattern. He hand carved out those legs, cut out the sides, the apron, and he said, here you go. So I'll be reupholstering this piece in a future video and maybe even redoing this little stool that I got recently at the auction. So I need to make another video or a live. Let me know down below. Would you rather have a live so that you can ask me questions, or would you rather just a regular video for these two stools? Let's take a look at the makeovers that we did today. We have those two pots that we did. Oh, I forgot to show you that one there on the left. Let me stick in a video really quick. What was I thinking? I used the same technique on this smaller plant vessel. I don't know, what are these things called? Can you tell me down in the comments? But anyway, I used the same layering technique by dabbing on those three colors, and I really love how it turned out. Let me know what you think of the frame and how this turned out. Do you like that look of the black paint on first and then that gold gilding wax over top? I enjoy this look. I like how it looks a lot. Let me know down in the comments if you like this makeover of this frame. And also that decoupage paper that had that sharp edge and how we blended that in. I like how this looks. The whole thing to me looks really good. This piece will probably end up in one of my guest rooms, but for the sake of showing you, I've got it here in my dining room. And here's that other pot. Now this pot holds the fiddle leaf that usually goes in my bedroom, and this fiddle leaf is doing great in my bedroom. The lighting is perfect for it, so it will ultimately end up back in the bedroom, and I think I'm going to repot it too. I'll add some floral moss to the top after it's repotted and call it a day. Here's this sweet little tray, and I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of use out of it. Back in the bedroom, I have this faux fireplace. By the way, I have a video to show you how to make a faux fireplace just like this, as well as that gorgeous plate wall. So on the mantle, I have added the little birds that we made over and this little plant stand. The little plant stand is just so adorable. I absolutely love those two pieces together. I'm going to be on the lookout for more of these little birds to make over and add to my little collection. They're going to look so cute out on the front porch. I hope you enjoyed watching and that you were inspired by these projects. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.